Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the new classical music alphabet. And we're up to the letter K. We're going to find the three greatest composers for each letter, just like we did the three Bs, right? And we're going to go through the alphabet as many times as it takes to use up all the great composers, because there are really quite a few, depending on the letter, of course. Obviously, Q isn't going to be all that bountiful, but S, so, yeah. We're going to have a lot of stuff to do, and you can contribute your own list of three, and some of those may make it into the revised alphabet if we don't get to them the first time around. Anyway, you can either use these composers, your own composers, as long as they're great composers and important composers and composers who did enough to make a list of something, not just like one-shot wonders. So give it some thought. And in the meantime, here are the three Ks. First, Franz Krommer, who lived from 1759 to 1831. He was one of those fabulous Czech composers. There's just slews of them. There was Reicha, and there was Dušek, and just a whole bunch of them who were active during the classical period and up to the early Romantic period. Of course, there were a bunch in the Romantic period, too, but there was a whole generation of them who spanned the turn of the 19th century. And Krommer was one of those, as you can see from his dates. They're almost exactly the same as Beethoven's. So, you know where he falls. And he was a splendid composer. He mostly wrote chamber music, and he's known today, to the extent he's known at all, for his wind music, his music for wind octet, his partitas for wind instruments. They're beautiful and fun and full of freshness and Czech folk influences and all of that stuff at a time when that was all just starting to happen. But he also wrote a batch of symphonies, and they were recently recorded on the CPO label featuring Howard Griffiths with the Orchestra della Svizzera Italiana, and they're really, really good. They're like classical proto-Dvorak or something like that. I mean, they have moments where the Czech element comes to the fore, and it's delightful, and his orchestration is delicious, and his handling of the wind section is brilliant, and you really ought to hear them. He also wrote something like 100 and some odd string quartets, virtually none of which have been recorded. I've only seen a few. And tons of wind music and other chamber music. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. And it's really, really good quality music. But give his symphonies a try, because, they have the best chance to rehabilitate his reputation. They're delightful, absolutely delightful. So that's Krommer. Next, Charles Koechlin, the fabulous French composer and pedagogue and silent movie buff. He was really a strange man. I mean, just absolutely bizarre. His dates are 1867 to 1950. So he's basically contemporary with Mahler and Richard Strauss and Sibelius and, all those people. He had a very long life. He was extremely prolific. His music sounds absolutely otherworldly. It's like nothing anybody else wrote. He was a master orchestrator. He orchestrated some of Debussy's stuff. He did, for Fauré. I mean, you needed someone to orchestrate your stuff. You called up Chuck and you just said, hey, orchestrate my thing. And he did. He was remarkable that way. But he also wrote a series of tone poems and songs based on Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. And boy, are they amazing and varied and mysterious and brilliant and big and bountiful. And they've been recorded a couple times. Best by David Zinman with Berlin Radio on RCA, a set which for some reason has managed to survive in the catalog for an indecent amount of time before being deleted. It may still even be available. Who knows? I think it's kind of remarkable. And the performances are fabulous. And on CD, you also get his 7 Stars Symphony. the stars being little tone poems dedicated to the stars of silent film, like Lillian Harvey and Douglas Fairbanks, and it's just really an eccentric and brilliant composer who certainly deserves more attention than he's been getting. He's gotten a lot of recordings, thank goodness, but there's so much more. So much more that still can be recorded. So Charles Koechlin is someone to definitely look into because he's one of the great Ks. I mean, he's definitely a special K. Next, Nikolai Kapustin. Yeah, who lived from 1937 to 2020. He made it to his 80s. He was a Ukrainian Soviet composer who spent most of his life in Moscow. He was the orchestra pianist for the Moscow Symphony, but his actual compositional idiom was jazz. The idiom, not the forms. The structures are classical and completely controlled. He always said he didn't write jazz because there's no improvisation in his music. Everything's written out. But the harmonic idiom is jazz, and it's phenomenal stuff. Extraordinarily virtuosic. He wrote like a whole passel, a couple of dozen piano sonatas. Most of his music is for piano, and also a series of concertos for piano and orchestra or jazz band, and they are absolutely marvelous. And they're part of a series being pursued by German pianist Frank Dupree on the Capriccio label. So I chose his Piano Concerto No. 5, but you could pick any of them. They are marvelous works. Brilliant, absolutely thrillingly exciting, and oh my, not too long. I mean, it's just incredibly lovable and exciting and original and fascinating music. He's become something of a cult figure in the past, decade or so, since his passing in 2020. But before that, he was finally discovered, and he got a publisher, Schott, I think it is, in Germany. And so his music started to be disseminated, and it is remarkable music and fascinating to listen to, and like nobody else in the 20th century. So he definitely deserves to be one of the major letter K people. Nikolai Kapustin, check him out. And I look forward to seeing your list as well. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.